What's up, guys? I've had a lot of questions about it. It's finally happening. We are starting with our 7.2.5 basics today. Today we've got the mechanics, artifact, and talents segment going on. TLDR, life is very painful, and I wanted to get this done the week before Mythic opened up, and I just didn't have the time. We're doing like 5 days worth of splits and everything, and it just didn't happen. So it's all right. I'm here, and we're going to start. So this guide is kind of assuming you have some experience with an Affliction Warlock and you're just trying to get back into it. And if not, I will be doing a basics quick start guide to the Affliction Warlock in general. That'll just give you some basic stuff. You can go ahead and watch that once it's out. But for now, we're going to talk about 7.2.5 changes, how everything is feeling, and talents and all that good stuff. So, the changes for 7.2.5, we had 2 new legendaries. One that gives us a soul shard or soul harvest proc whenever we get a soul, or whenever we use a soul shard. It is a chance for soul harvest, and then Soul of the Netherlord, which gives us the Death's Embrace and talent. We'll get to that in a minute. Artifacts, Wrath of Consumption got the nerf stick, which is fine. It was extremely overpowered, and that was all the artifact changes, which is nice. As far as talents, Effigy has been removed. Those of you who hate it can praise your preferred deity. Malefic Grasp was nerfed, which makes sense. Kind of helps our single target not be so retarded. Phantom Singularity buffed, Siphon Life buffed, swapped with Phantom Singularity. We have Death's Embrace now to replace Soul Effigy. Haunt has been changed. Writhe and Agony slightly nerfed, not really, but only slightly. Contagion slightly nerfed. Soul Harvest had its duration cut, but the damage extension has been increased, so we'll go over that. And all affliction spells have had their damage increased by about 18%. So that is minus our AoE spells, so Seed and Soul Flame in particular have not been increased. Most everything else has. So, what's been going on? What did they do in 7.2.5? Their goal was to take us from being this single target imbalanced piece of shit and move us into the goal, it looks like, was a jack of all trades. We are good at multi-target. We are good at single target. We are okay at burst within 10 seconds. Not the best, but okay. There's some things you can do to set it up, but it sucks. But that's fine. You need to be bad at something. That's okay. And they've done that fairly well. So what they have done is they've moved a lot of our damage from Malefic Grasp draining into just general multi-dots. So our single target has been nerfed slightly. The dot damage increase is very noticeable now. It is okay to spread Siphon Life, for example. It is okay to spread Corruptions. So, talk about the artifact. If you are leveling your artifact, you just want to come down right now. You want to just get your Wrath. You want to get, and then go straight into Soul Flame. You want to get Fatal Echoes, finish this out, and then finish this ring out. After that point, when you're going for your from 304 to 404, Perdition, Shadowy Incantations, UA Crit, Agony, Corruption, and then everything else that they don't matter after that point. Cool. Really quick, really easy. Not a lot has changed about that. As far as relics, you really want to either get Perdition or Shadow Damage, Shadowy Incantations. They're about equal on Sims. SI parses Sims a little higher, but it's not the end of the world if you only have Perdition. So, ignore my dog, Corey. So yeah. Good artifact. It's pretty cut and dry now. As far as talent, so they did a bunch of talent changes. That was the biggest thing that happened with us. So Malefic Grasp has been nerfed drastically, which is fine. It is still the go-to for your single target. Writhe and Agony has effectively not changed. So your Agonies in 7.2 with 20 stacks should be roughly equal to Agony with 15 stack in 7.2.5. That's the major change. The 10 stack is stronger than the 10 stack before. The 20 stack is approximately, probably slightly stronger than Agony with 15 stack. That's the main difference. And then Haunt. Haunt had its damage decreased, its duration decreased, its multiplier decreased, its cooldown decreased, and it overall has been buffed because of how the new dots work. So the main thing Haunt has been used for right now is high mobility single target. So the Mistress fight in Tomb is a prime example. Most of the warlocks, Affliction warlocks that are on that fight, they have been using Haunt. And that is because you are running around like a fucking idiot, but you need the single target damage. So, Haunt. It is no longer a true meme. It has a use. I just personally don't like it. Contagion. Contagion got a 3% nerf. That's fine. AC got a 15% nerf. Also fine, because our dots got increased by like 20%. So, there you go. Powered Life Tap didn't get any changes. It's still a potato. Don't use it. Tier 45 didn't change. Tier 60 had a lot of changes. So itself didn't get changed. Seed of Corruption was not affected by the damage increase. So keep that in mind. Soul Harvest had its base duration reduced to 12 seconds from 15. But its ramping duration has been increased by 4 seconds per Agony. If you have 2 targets, Soul Harvest is now longer than what it used to be. If you have 1 target, it is shorter than what it used to be. That's the difference. Phantom Singularity and Siphon have been swapped, and Phantom Singularity is now a 40-second cooldown, which means it lines up every time with ads. It lines up on most fights that spawn ads, it lines up very nicely. So keep that in mind. It's really good to help nuke ads down. As of recording this is the one thing. This is July 4th, National Freedom Day here in the United States. Phantom Singularity, if you haven't done anything to ads that have been hit by Phantom Singularity, they will not proc souls. They will not proc Soul Flame. They will not proc Wrath of Consumption. Okay? Keep that in mind. It is a bug. It has been reported. It is just behind fixing, finishing out with the PTR for Tomb of Sargeras. That was a joke. We're out of PTR, but it's still buggy as shit. So, so keep that in mind. You still need to, if you want to do anything to these ads, you still at least need to drain one that's gonna die to proc the Soul Flames and do all that stuff. This will not proc death effects on ads, if that's the only thing that's hit them. It's very weird. I don't know how that ended up happening, but keep that in mind. 75 has not changed. Personally, I'd stick with Burning Rush for just about everything. Tier 90 hasn't changed. You only use Supremacy, period. You don't use anything else. And then Tier 100, Conduit has not changed. Siphon Life swapped with PS, has been buffed, and that has been buffed twice. It got the percent buff, the Affliction flat percentage, and it got another like 10 or 15% on top of that. And then Death's Embrace. Death's Embrace replaces Soul Effigy. I will let you decide on your feelings, personal feelings of Soul Effigy. But Death's Embrace, so this is a ramping execute. So at 35%, it starts increasing your damage. At 35%, provides 0 damage. At 31%, provides a little bit of damage. Just at 0%, it provides 50% bonus damage. We are now Shadow Priest without dying. It's basically what it is. This does very similar things to what the Surrender to Madness talent does, but it doesn't kill us, which is kind of cool. Mechanically, anyways, it doesn't increase our haste, but it increases our damage effectively. So it's really cool. I personally have been using this on a lot of encounters. There's a lot of fights that get progressively harder as the fight goes on. An example is Sisters of the Moon. You have a pseudo enrage because you run out of floor space on that fight. So this is really good for that. It's phased. Anytime you have a phased enrage, this is really good. So awesome. These are our new talents. It's pretty cool. As far as talent walkthrough for single target,
your mama puts out on weekends.
Ignore my weak auras. This is typically what most people are running right now. PS, you can swap between PS and Soul Harvest. There's logic behind either or. Ignore my ear scratching. There's logic behind the two. Soul Harvest is if you have cases where you can ramp up its time to like 25 seconds. It's really good. Once you hit around 25 seconds, so I think it's 4 or 5 targets. So if you have a bunch of ads that pop, you can agony those, pop Soul Harvest, and then lay into the boss. Cool. This lets you go through 2 UA cycles, which is really strong. I would say Soul Harvest is much stronger on fights like Harshatan than PS because you don't really need the AoE, you need the single target. Harshatan hits hard, so that's a thing. The other thing is swapping between these two. Siphon Life is for more continuous damage. Siphon Life sims higher than Death's Embrace, period. It sims higher than Death's Embrace, period. But Death's Embrace has basically one of the best executes in the game right now. It doesn't require us to change anything about a rotation. You play the exact same at 100% and at 2%. You just are gaining a shit ton of damage at the end of that. So keep that stuff in mind. Conduit. Excuse me. Conduit is... I personally don't like to use Conduit on anything right now because it's very RNG. Even in Mythic Plus, I don't use Conduit. I use Siphon Life for pretty much everything right now. Conduit, the issue with Conduit is it is very RNG, which means one pull you can get a bunch of procs, another pull you can get no procs. So keep that in mind. On progress, you really want to avoid things like that because there is a huge swing in your damage, and that's bad. So, yeah, this is kind of single target, multi-target. I personally swap between these two, depending on the fight. If I have a fight that has a lot of ads, so Mythic Demonic Inquisition, I run AC 100% of the time. Absolute Corruption is extremely strong on fights where you have, like, you just have ads spawning, you just Corruption them and move on with your life. They will eventually die. AC works, that sort of thing with the ads works really nice if you have this ring, not because of the damage increase, but because they're now slow as potatoes. It's really good. So keep that in mind. As far as pure, I want to kill the bosses, this is kind of your go-to build. And if there is a bunch of ads that you need to help control and you have a ring, or you just, there's just like 5 targets that you're multi-dotting, so Desolate Host is an example, you want to run either this or this. This also has some capabilities on Desolate Host. Cool. As far as other things for Mythic Plus, this is what I typically run. The logic behind this is you still get you get 95% capabilities on bosses with Siphon Life, and you're not losing much by doing that. Right? You're losing either Phantom Singularity or Soul Harvest, and then you're gaining the mass sustained AoE that you get from Sow the Seeds. On top of that, you can add a Siphon Life on a higher health mob. You know, if you get a pack that's got a like it on I think if you get Halls of Valor, you get a big guy on top of an AoE. You can Agony Siphon Life the big guy while sustaining your AoE on all the little shitters. Cool. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Conduit has some potential, but Siphon is more consistent, and you would much rather have consistency, in my opinion, especially if you're doing higher keys. Plus, Siphon Life gives you a bunch of self-healing that you wouldn't get otherwise. So, it's kind of all over all the talent builds. I mean, so Affliction has a lot of variants. This row has been simmed. They're all within about, these two are within about 4 or 5% of each other. These two are within about 8 to 10%. These two are within about 3 to 4%. These two are within about 3 to 4%. These two are almost equal, actually. The numbers are very fine-tuned. Soul Harvest and Phantom Singularity, again, within 2 to 3% of each other. So keep all that in mind. There's a lot of variety. There's a lot of options. There's no 100% best build. Don't go doing something like this, though. That makes no sense. Use your brain, but for the most part, there's a lot of options out there. So it's a great time. Thanks for watching. Check out the next video.